My husband forbids me to get a salpingectomy because I won't be a real woman without a fallopian tube. Well, now he's not a husband because he doesn't have a wife. I and my husband have 2 children together and have been married for 8 years. For those 8 years, I've either been on birth control when we were preventing pregnancy or tracking my cycle when we were trying to conceive. Recently, we discussed the possibility of being done with children since we have our 2, and the family really feels complete. My husband is in agreement that a 3rd child is off the table for him as well. So with that, I thought, great, I can bring up sterilization for either him or I. The reason I wanted this is because I've had every form of birth control before, and none of them ever left me feeling 100% okay. So I wanted to be done with birth control completely, since we both agreed we're done. It's been about 3 months since our talk about more children, so I brought up either getting a vasectomy for him or me getting a salpingectomy, removing my fallopian tubes. What I thought would be a productive conversation completely blew up. He outright refused a vasectomy, and when I was okay with that and said I'd happily get a salpingectomy, he completely flipped his shut on me, screaming at me about how he forbids it from happening, and he won't allow me to damage myself like that. I ended up just leaving the conversation and headed to get our kids from school, but on the way I ended up calling my gynecologist to schedule a consultation for the salpingectomy after making sure I won't need my spouse's approval. Update. After getting our children to their school daycare for the day, I went to our local coffee shop to pick us up each a cup. I figured it can either be seen as a show of care or a peace offering. Once I got home, he was sitting at our island doom scrolling through TikTok. I decided standing across from him would be a bit of a better choice, so I gave us our respective cups and asked if I could get his attention for a conversation. Well, what I hoped would be productive turned unproductive quickly as he sighed with an eye roll and turned off his phone. I started by asking the big question of if he wanted any more children. I even suggested he doesn't think about what I said on the subject and just tell me his feelings about more children. With that, he answered a firm no and told me, as he said before, a 3rd child is and will always be off the table. I then asked him if he had any fears or concerns about surgeries, medical procedures. He said no to this question as well. So I asked if he understood the procedure and what it entailed, and he said yes, he does, which is why he doesn't want me to get it done. In his words, I wouldn't be a woman if I got any part of my reproductive organs removed, and he refuses to allow me down that path. I then followed up by asking about his getting a vasectomy, and he said it's pretty much the same thing for men, and he won't let anyone take away if manhood. The final question I managed to ask was, did he just expect me to be on birth control forever? And this man looked me in M-face and said, it's worked so well for me already. Why change things up, guys? As I stated in my previous post, I am miserable and in debilitating pain with birth control. At the end of this, I just grabbed my coffee and went sit on our porch just trying to wrap my head around the conversation, while he stood in the house acting like nothing is wrong and we're just having a normal day off together. Update 2. So to start, I've been at my sister's with the children all weekend. I told my husband that she was feeling lonely and wanted us to stay over. He believed it, as we usually try to do this once a month. I called off of work Monday so my sister and I can meet with the divorce lawyer that handled her divorce. I'm unsure if divorce will be the path I go down, but I want to get my ducks in a row before laying it all down for my husband. Update 3. To start off with the divorce, I'm finishing up with my lawyer to get the divorce petition written and served to my husband, which should happen before the end of this month. Last I heard from his side with the divorce, he got a lawyer for himself, and once served, wants all communications going through our lawyers. I finished up sorting through our asset divisions and making a custody plan, so my lawyer has that ready to be sent over to his lawyer for any questions or concerns about it. I'm sure there will be a bit of back and forth until an agreement is met. Next, an update about the children. They now know we are separating and going through a divorce. While initially they were very upset with the news, things kind of settled and became accepted. They are in therapy individually and us as a family, so I'm hoping that stays help them. My husband has been having them about 1 day a week, usually Saturday during the day, as he expresses inability to handle them alone at night. I try to communicate with him on the happening in the kids' life, such as school and extracurriculums, but he keeps pushing me to communicate through his mom. So far, I have been sending them both similar messages, so there is proof I'm communicating with him directly, as well as his preferred way. Lastly, my surgery. My consultation went amazingly, and my surgery is scheduled for the end of June. My gynecologist did remove MG-IUD about a week ago, and honestly, I've been feeling so much better. And as each day passes, I feel like I'm really coming back to myself. I'm just waiting for that first period to see if it'll be like they usually are, or if I'm back to normal.